Hello and welcome to the Market Advantage podcast. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. Talking about some pricing discrepancies in the NBA tonight. There aren't a lot of them, but we'll highlight the ones that do exist. Draymond Green, first off, $7,800 on FanDuel. No respect on DraftKings for him. He's only $6,900. He's one of my favorite cash game plays. He's one of my favorite tournament plays. One of those guys that just he's never a sexy pick. He's always the guy that flies under the radar, doesn't score a lot of real points very often. But, it seems like every night he's a triple-double threat. And, last game shot 3 for 10 and scored 43.5 fantasy points. So, he's one of my favorite players in the NBA because he doesn't have to do anything to just be very good.
Yeah, the guy, he does it all, but just in, moderate proportions. He's nearly had a triple-double in like the last 4 or 5 games. It's insane. And looking back at the Memphis game, he went 11, 8, and 9 with 3 steals in 27 minutes. If you don't remember, they actually blew the lid off that place when they were up by like 30 in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
I love him on DK. If we can get that triple-double bonus there, his ceiling is just tremendously high.
And even better, he's playing Memphis again tonight. So
yeah.
Obviously he had plenty of success in that matchup. We aren't going to buy too much into one game log, but let's be honest here. Zach Randolph, not a good defender, I don't think. Team defense, yes. Zach Randolph, probably the worst of the bunch, if you ask me personally. Speaking of Zach Randolph, he has a pretty big discount here as well. Coming off a huge game where he was listed as questionable, ended up being one of the better plays that night because he was so low owned. $7,100 on FanDuel, $61 on DraftKings, and you mentioned that blowout in that game. He was awful in that game. 19 minutes, he scored 7.75 DraftKings points, which is terrible. But coming off his last game, which was really, really good against the Clippers, I'm not sure I'll be heavily invested in Zach Randolph due to the fact that it is a tough matchup, but that $6,100 price tag on DraftKings definitely puts him in play for GPP for me because, he is a guy that could put up 45, 50 fantasy points, and, that's a pretty cheap price for him.
Yeah, the guy's, relatively a double-double each night when he gets it going. Looking at the Utah matchup 2 games ago, still put up 25 fantasy points, and that's against probably the best front court defensively in basketball.
Yeah.
And then looking against Portland, Sacramento, 33, 36. Those are solid numbers for 6,100 on DK. Like you said, he's less attractive on FanDuel just because that price tag is up there, but DK is definitely in play for me.
Yeah. Reggie Jackson, the guy that's in play on both sites, he's $8,200 on FanDuel, $73 on DraftKings. This is a guy that has shown monster upside. That game against Portland just absolutely blew the lid off the place in the fourth quarter. 40 real points, 45 and 5 in that one, coming off a game before. Each of his last five games, he has at least 20 real points. He's got a 7 and 7 assist and rebound in there, a 6 and 7, a 5 and 5. He's been great. Darren Collison on the other side, questionable for this game. Moved to doubtful now. Rajon Rondo, as we know, admitted last year he hasn't played defense in years. I'm sure he didn't just start this year. I'm sure George Karl talked in his ear a little bit, but he's never been a great defender either. So Reggie Jackson, especially with Andre Drummond matched up against DeMarcus Cousins tonight, I think especially on DraftKings with that price discount, he's going to be a guy that gets overlooked a lot more than he should be.
Yeah, I think he's a tremendous GPP play tonight. Like I said, that ceiling is fairly high, especially in guys in that range. I could see him maybe not outscoring Lillard tonight, but definitely could be like outscoring Chris Paul, guys like that, Lowry, and the blowout potential. So I think he's a sneaky play if you're looking for just a small pivot from top tier point guards.
Yeah, and if you factor in that points per dollar, he could be right there with Lillard, at least on DraftKings at that discount. So yeah. I definitely like that. Another guy with a big difference here, that's Evan Turner, $5,700 on FanDuel, $46 on DraftKings. Small forward FanDuel, shooting guard DraftKings. But really, for that situation, what you're really doing here is you're targeting him because of his cheap price. The $5,700 on FanDuel is a little bit much for me. I'm not a huge fan of that.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I think this is going to be one to keep an eye on just with the injury situations. Marcus Smart, Avery Bradley, so FanDuel is probably off the table for me. But Evan Turner, he's another guy who's kind of like Draymond Green, where he doesn't score a ton, but he racks up assists, steals, rebounds. He's that type of player.
Yeah. Jeff Teague is another guy with a discount, $7,600 on FanDuel, $69 on DraftKings. there's always the potential that he sits out a game. We've seen this many times with the Hawks. I don't know that tonight will be the night, but he does have a great matchup here against the New Orleans team that Drew Holiday listed as doubtful for today. Obviously, Tyreek Evans hasn't been playing all season. He's still out for a while. Really nobody there to play defense on in that backcourt for New Orleans. So if Jeff Teague decides he's going to have a big game, he can have a big game. But also Anthony Davis is out, so that certainly bumps up the big men for Atlanta. So maybe just bump up his assist potential tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving this game for fantasy tonight. I'm on both sides, even though New Orleans is without Anthony Davis. Ish Smith, Ryan Anderson, Paul Millsap. You could throw Horford into the mix if you want to for a safe floor, but I mean, that game is loaded. It's loaded with plays tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And then TJ McConnell, another one with a little bit of a discount, 4,900 on FanDuel, 55 on FanDuel, 49 on DraftKings. He's a guy that doesn't have a very good matchup today, but I mean, he's been great. He's been crushing a salary, has big upside. So he's a guy that I'm still going to be considering here for tournaments, but certainly not a cash game play right now for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, the prices has gone up a little bit in the last week because he's been a solid player. Lowry matchup it's average. I mean, I can't say Lowry's a great defender, but he's not a bad one.
Yeah.
I think there's better plays around that area of pricing, like Jordan Clarkson and even Alfred Payton if you want to roll the dice.
Yeah, and speaking of those two both have similar discounts. 6,500 for Payton on FanDuel to 56 on DraftKings. 63 to 56 for Clarkson. Both those guys could end up having big games. And Alfred Payton, the guy, another one of those guys, not a good scorer, not a consistent scorer, but a guy that's in the best matchup you're going to get for a point guard against the Lakers. So we've seen subpar or average players have huge games against them and great players have enormous games. So he's a guy I'll be throwing in some tournaments, but I don't exactly feel great about it if I'm only making a couple lineups.
No, it just gives you a pit in your stomach because Payton has a pretty low floor. And, despite the matchup here against the Lakers, he still can kind of just sit out of the game. It seems like he just kind of disappears for a little bit, which is concerning for cash games, of course. But even in GPPs, I feel a little bit queasy having him in my lineups.
Yeah, not a guy you feel great about there, but certainly a guy that has upside. So GPP only. As far as that, those are the only real main pricing discrepancies here for us. If we're talking a couple top plays here, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot here on one real quick. Okay, there's going to be two of them actually. First one, Andre Drummond versus Boogie Cousins. Who do you go with?
It's going to be Boogie tonight.
Yep,
at home. I think Drummond's going to have a decent night, but I don't think he's going to pay off the price tag. I see Cousins more likely paying off the price tag, if anything.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And then one more top-tier guy, non-center, so non-big men. We're talking Harden, Curry, Lillard, all these guys. Who are you going with?
That's tough. I'm actually going to say Blake Griffin.
Okay.
I mean, Dallas keeps this one close. I mean, looking at what he did against Dallas last time, 45 DraftKings points. He went 26, 10, and 2. 27 minutes he did that in because that game was a blowout. So if they keep this one close, I think Blake Griffin could be the guy tonight.
I like that.
But there are tons of options, so that's a tough call.
Yeah, I like Blake Griffin. I'm going to go the James Harden train as far as those guys go, but certainly don't blame me there. And there's plenty of value. You can get both those guys, really, if you wanted. So
yeah.
It's going to be a fun GPP night. And if you haven't looked at lobbies, it's about 2 o'clock right now, and things are getting pretty full pretty early. So I know I need to go get all my lineups in. You might want to reserve your entries as well here pretty soon. So check us out on Twitter at the F Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out the rest of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.